This is the plaintiff, Craig Whittleson. He says the defendant's his ex-girlfriend, and when he broke up with her, she maliciously vandalized his belongings because his new girlfriend had purchased them for him. He understands the defendant's not happy he's with someone else, but that certainly doesn't give her the right to trash his stuff. He's suing for $616.35, the amount he's owed. This is the defendant, Alyssa. She says the plaintiff left her for one of her friends, and needless to say, she felt blindsided. She snapped and did damage some of the things his new girlfriend bought him. They came up with a settlement of $345, which she paid him. Now he's turning around and trying to up the price on her, and that's not fair. She's accused of completely losing it.
All parties, please raise your right hand. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milianta presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Whittleson, what happened?
All right. So I was over at my girlfriend's, and when I'd come back, I realized that my PlayStation 5 and my comics and an iPod and a controller and a video game had been broken.
Who was breaking your stuff?
Alyssa.
What relationship did you have with Alyssa?
She was my girlfriend.
Oh, so
she was my ex-girlfriend. She's my ex-girlfriend.
Right. I know she's your ex-girlfriend now. Who was she your girlfriend when this happened?
No.
Okay, so you had broken up when?
We had broken up, I think, a week.
Okay.
After.
Okay. So you had a new girlfriend, and you were at the new, that was mighty quick, and you were at the new girlfriend's house when old girlfriend came over to your place. By the way, how long had you been dating?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. Since high school?
Yes.
Because you guys are pretty young. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And how old are you, Alyssa?
20.
Okay. So had you been living together?
I'd say partially.
Okay. And were you living at your parents' house?
Yes.
Okay. So who lets Alyssa into the house?
I really don't know. I believe it was my mother.
Okay. And then she lets Alyssa into your room?
Yes.
And the stuff that Alyssa damaged, are they things she knew belonged to you?
Yes.
Were they stuff that you had while you were with her?
Partially, yeah.
Like what?
Like the PlayStation 5, the comics, and the iPod.
What am I looking at in this picture?
That would be the PlayStation 5. And those are the HDMI ports. That is the controller that had his top ripped off. And those are the bent comics.
I mean, I don't even see them bent in here. So how do you find out that this damage has been done?
When I came home the night of hanging out with my girlfriend, I went to go turn on the PlayStation 5 and had realized that it wouldn't turn on. So I checked the power source and the power cord was gone. And then I went to lift up the controller and the top came off. And that's when I realized that the ports were damaged. And I started searching my room for more damage. And I saw that my comics had been bent and the iPod.
Right. But how did you figure out what had happened?
I assume.
Did you know she was there?
No, I didn't.
So did you go out and ask your parents, hey, was she here? Like, how did you figure out that she did it?
I came to my mom and I told her what happened, and she said she had no idea. She let Alyssa in, and she said she must have done it when she came in.
All right, Alyssa, what's going on?
So that day was when I was collecting the last of my things. His new girlfriend, which for privacy reasons I will reference a different name, so I'll just go by Abby. Abby had shared text messages that they were sending between each other. With her friend.
Why would you care to keep her private? She wrecked your life. That's kind of sweet on your part, but so we'll call her new girlfriend, shall we? And
new girlfriend.
How did you find out that he had moved on quite that quickly and brusquely?
Well, I would actually say he didn't move on. He cheated.
Right.
He was messaging her while we were still dating. I couldn't bring myself to read most of them. They were horrendous. I I just didn't even know how to react. And so then when I got those messages from the new girlfriend's friend informing me they were still messaging each other, that's when I went over to the house to just collect the last of my things. And that was my true intent when I got there. But of course,
then what happened?
So I got in there and
the night that you guys are talking about this, when is it that you discover these messages? What time of the night?
He had come home at around 3 a.m. after hanging out with a new girlfriend, but at the time was just his friend.
You thought that he was just with friends, or you thought she was just a friend?
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, men and women can't be friends. All right.
Yeah.
So that's not true, but it's often true. So high alert. That's all I'm saying is high alert. All right. So now he comes home, and you have just caught the messages on his phone.
It was actually that iPod that he mentioned. I looked at Messenger and I saw that he had changed the pet name for her to the same pet name that he had for me.
Really?
Which was my one and only.
Really? And was she a friend of yours?
She was my friend for about 7 to 8 years.
Like a close friend?
Yeah, I would say she was fairly close. I helped her through a lot of breakups. It's funny because one of her friends did this exact same thing to her, and I was helping her every step of the way through that. But
all right, so it's 3 a.m. You're talking to him, and you think things are going to be okay?
Yeah, because I don't know if a lot of people, I'm not sure that a lot of people experience this, but when I looked at his face, he still looked like Craig. You know, he didn't turn into this horrible monster cheater. Like, he still looked like himself.
So did you guys break up that night?
Not that I was aware of. I'm pretty sure.
In fact, according to you, that night you had physical relations.
Yeah, it was, I'm sorry, not that night. It was the next night. We were still talking about it, and I was just trying to figure out if he wanted to move on. And then, yeah, he had sexual relations with me. And then the next morning, he was kicking me out of the house.
You go over there a few days later, and what happens? What do you do to his stuff?
So when I got those messages, I did act rash, and it was definitely a blind act of rage. I was very uncaring towards this stuff. The PS4, I did stick a foreign object, I can't remember exactly what it was, into the ports and bent them. And then I threw the controller, and I remember having the iPod. I was pretty forceful with it. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think back because it's been about a year. So just trying to think back on the event. And with all the emotion rising, it was really hard to remember exactly what happened in details because I was just trying not to throw up at that point. I was trying to get everything and get out.
When you get back to where did you go, by the way?
From his house?
Yeah.
I went to my aunt's house.
All right. So, and at some point when you're at your aunt's house, do you collect your thoughts and say, wow, or does someone call you and say, what did you do? How does everything pan out after that?
100%. I felt horrible, and I was contemplating reaching out, but I didn't want to breach. And I was like, well, I'm not blocking them. I'll give open access contact. And they didn't message me for around 2 days. And it was then I found out it was because he was sleeping over at this girl's house.
So he hadn't even come home. All right. So, yeah, so when does someone say, hey, what did you do? Is it him? Is it his mom? Who is it?
I believe it was his older sister on my behalf, along with his sister-in-law just harassing me about ignoring those messages. But my older his older sister reached out. I was at work at the time, so I was a bit nervous. I talked to the manager, and she told me to not respond for now and to block them for now, which was a stupid mistake. So I was glad that they reached out another way, and then we set up a meeting point.
Okay, tell me what the older sister and the mother said to you.
They were just talking about where we want to meet, and
meet for what? For what purpose?
Oh, to pay back the PS5 and to pay back for the damages.
Okay.
And I also
were they mad at you?
Yeah, they were. Well, yeah, they were fairly mad, and I, of course, I was fine with that because I knew that what I did was wrong. But they weren't overly mad and
Did you tell them that their son was a cheater? With a friend of yours?
Yeah, I sent the messages.
Did they feel bad about it, or they said that's not what we're concerned about?
They did. That's what happened when I actually got there, is that they were like, I know that what you did came from a place of pain. Like, I know you're not like this, because I lived with him for 2 years. So they started to know me as well as me, you know, being his girlfriend. So they had some sympathy for me.
So what did they say to you at that meeting?
They were mainly just talking about like what happened. And I mostly was just like, how do I pay this back? And so I gave them the rest of my scholarship money, which was $345. And I asked, well, how else would you like me to pay? I know this isn't going to cover it. And they told me like, hey, it's fine. Like, we understand that this happened. This should help cover the damages. So I assumed that it was fine then.
Okay.
Sorry.
So when is the next time you hear from Craig that he wants more money?
Oh, yes. I should have also mentioned, sorry, that at that meeting spot, I told them that Craig could contact me if there was anything else they need to reach out about. And then he blocked me. So I assumed that was it. And the last I heard from Craig was right now when he sued me.
A year later?
Yep.
All right. Mr. Whittleson, how is it that this was not resolved at the meeting when you sent your emissaries to meet with her to discuss the damages?
So I had not sent them out. They didn't tell me that that price was okay. It wasn't until later down the road that they said that $350 was going to be okay. And I said that won't cover the price of what a PS5 is worth now. It's double the price now. And it technically isn't my property to be saying that that price was okay.
What do you mean?
So the PS5 was still being paid on by my new girlfriend's dad.
Well, why is your new girlfriend's dad buying you a gaming toy? I don't get it. That was already at your house for when she still had her stuff there?
Yes.
Okay. And my understanding is that the dad then contacts you?
Yeah.
The dad of the new girlfriend contacts you and says what?
He says basically, hey, I'm going to do a police report on you and ruin your life if you don't give me $1,000.
These are the texts between you and the father of your friend who started dating your boyfriend?
Yes.
You can call me later or text me. I'd rather deal with you. You just have to make arrangements with me so I know what's going on, because you're a good person. I have nothing against you. I like you. It's just one of those things we do sometimes. We don't think, but it replaced or paid for. I don't want to take the next step. If you don't want to take care of it, you won't like that. So I'm being nice here. Here's the thing, Mr. Whittleson. What I'm not getting is there's a meeting, and at the meeting things are discussed, and they say, that's fine, $350 will do it. You don't debate that. You say they didn't have the authority to say that. But you took the $350, right? They came home and told you, here's the $350.
Yes. And I subtracted that.
Oh, that's big of you. Because the problem that we have here, you go to the police, right, Ms. Alyssa? And what do the police say to you?
They tell me that because those two were speaking on his behalf, because that was also the home property, like they were the owners of the home as well. And I was acting under the assumption that they were speaking on his behalf. Again, he didn't contact me with any other new information. The police said that was settled outside of court. There was
right. There's a concept in the law called accord and satisfaction. Okay. And it means the courts want to encourage people to resolve cases. All right. So when people resolve cases instead of going to court, then we say, great, that's done. We don't let you then bring a lawsuit a year later as well. Why is it a year later? And if $350 that you accepted wasn't enough, why didn't you make a claim right away, or talk to her right away, or demand more in a text right away? How does a year pass and then daddy calls her and says, oh, you know what? That was actually mine because I'm still paying on it. Had your girlfriend given you that as a gift? Is that the idea?
Yes, I believe so.
And so because daddy's still paying for the gift that daddy can't afford and daughter can't afford to give boyfriend who's fresh off the girlfriend he's lived with for 2 years by a few days, because of that. All of a sudden, he's going to come and threaten her with the police a year later? You can tell me that they didn't have the authority to go there and talk to her about the damages, but I got to tell you, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, I usually find it to be a duck. They're meeting with her. They accept the money. You accept the money from them. You knew they were meeting with her. Why do you send them to meet with her if you're not giving them the authority to settle the case? And if they didn't tell her, yes, this'll do it, go vaya con Dios, then why aren't they here to tell me that they didn't say that?
Because I don't believe they wanted to be on.
Right. So here's what I have. I have people who went to talk to her about resolving the damages. She going to meet them. They taking $350 and saying that'll do it. And you acting like that did it for almost a year. You know what? If it was good enough for you then, it's good enough for me now. I'm ruling in favor of the defense. This was settled out of court. And listen to me. I can hear from the sound of your voice that you are still in pain, Ms. Alyssa, over what it is that happened here. But it's time for you to move on, right? And I don't know if you have, I hope you have. Maybe part of your breaking up while you're telling me this story is your embarrassment and humiliation at how you behaved and how you were treated. Maybe that's part of it. But I hope that you have moved on, because you are 20, like way best years of your life are not even in the horizon yet, sweetheart. You understand that, right? Verdict for the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So the judge finds for the defendant in this case, the plaintiff, Mr. Widdowson, is not going to get any more money out of her. How do you feel about that? What are you thinking, Mr. Widdowson?
I hope Alyssa has a good rest of her life. I'm sorry. I'm truly, truly sorry that I did that to her. And, well, that's about it.
All right. Well, fair enough. Hope she can accept that. Alyssa, what do you think about what he just said to you? He's sorry he did this. He sued you for this. What do you think?
Well, that's the first time he actually apologized to me for the whole event, so I guess that's something to hear. I mean, I'm just glad that it's over and they can no longer contact me about this.
All right. Good luck to you. And I'm glad you don't have to pay. You won. Good luck. All right. That'll wrap up this really intriguing case. Harvey?
So, Doug, it's as simple as this. When you make a deal to settle a dispute, that in the law is called an accord in satisfaction. That means you can't turn around and get a second bite of the apple by suing because you didn't get all the money you might be entitled to. When you settle for good. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case inside the courtroom.
Hey, judges, I heard you like the cartoon series South Park. Who's your favorite South Park character?
Cartman, by far. Cartman. He's ridiculous. Everything out of his mouth is ridiculous.
Right.
It's always funny. He's definitely my favorite, not because he's likable, but because he's hysterical.
What I like about Cartman also is he is so manipulative.
He really is.
And he's very highly intelligent. And he's just diabolical, and he's like the villain who usually the plans blow up in his face.
Right.
Somehow at some point in the whole thing.
Yeah.
My favorite character is probably PC Principal.
Oh, that's right.
Because
you actually dressed up as PC Principal.
Right.
You look just like him when he came in
when I
season
put
20
the Oakley sunglasses
and started to
khakis and all that
to
stuff.
get everybody politically correct in the high school, in the elementary school.
It's funny because I'm usually not politically correct, but sometimes I am, and never in a hurtful way. But and he is absolutely politically correct about everything, always, every second. He chooses his words rather carefully, and it's hilarious. So it's kind of a guilty pleasure for us to watch that once in a while, right?
Yeah.